Next, we are going to look at aligning images using CSS. Okay, how to float, or how to use the float property to be able to what? To be used to move an element to the left or to the right of its containing block, allowing text to flow around it as well. Okay, that is doing what we call in MS Word text wrap. Okay, doing text wrapping. That is simply what we are going to look at in images, and then how to make, or how to allow text to also flow around our images. Okay, instead of using the image elements and the align attribute, web page authors are increasingly using the float property to align images. There are two ways that is commonly achieved. One is the float property is added to the class that was created to represent the image, the size of the image. And then secondly, new classes are created with names such as align left or align right to align the images to the left or to the right of the page. These classes, okay, or class names are used in addition to classes that indicate the size of the image. I'm going to show you an example, and then in the example you see the align left and the align right classes used to align the image. Okay, it is also common to add a margin to the image to ensure that the text does not touch their edges, so you have to give them margins. Let's go to our text editor. Now before going to the text editor, look at this particular example which we are going to check in our text editor. On the left is HTML, on our right is CSS. So this is the first image, alright, and then it has some text around it, so there's a paragraph. So this image will float, okay, either to the left or to the right, and the class name here is align left, while the second image also has a class name of align right. So on the right side you see the CSS code which explains which actually explains the first paragraph. You see the align left says it should float left and then add some margin of 10 pixels, whilst the second one should float right and it has also a margin of a margin to the left of 10 pixels. Okay, 10 pixels. Now on the text editor I've inserted these two paragraphs. That's the first one and then the second one. Each of them has an image, okay, and then I've assigned class names for those ones to float left and then one to float right. So I'm going to the CSS to actually do my styling. So let me insert the code here, and then this is for the first paragraph which has an align left, so it's going to float on the left, okay, whilst the text come on its right, whilst this second image is going to be on the right, okay, with a margin of 10 pixels so that the text will not be touching the edge of the image. So I've saved it. I'm going onto my browser. Now this is how it is going to look like before applying the CSS rule. They will all be aligned to the left, okay, but now I've applied, I want to refresh it. You see the second image has is now floating on the right, and then it has its text around it, whilst this is the first image on the left with the its text. The second image is to the right with its text. Okay, so this is how we use CSS to align or to let text float around an image. Now, centering images. By default, images are inline elements. They are not block level elements. This means that they flow within the surrounding text. In order to center an image, it should be turned into a block level element using the display property with a value of block. Once it has been made into a block level element, there are two common ways in which you can horizontally center an image. One, on the containing element, you can use the text align property with a value of center, or on the image itself, you can use the margin property and set the values of the left and the right margins to auto. You can specify class names that allow any element to be centered in the same way that you can for dimensions or alignment of images, which we have already looked at. The techniques for specifying image size and alignment of images can also be used with the HTML5 element. Now this is the code we are going to look at in our text editor. Okay, this is the code. If you look on the left, you see a paragraph. Okay, and on the right you see the properties that has been attached. The class name for the paragraph is align center, align center medium, align center medium. Whilst on the right you see the stars that has been, or the rules that have been given to that particular HTML class, which is block. So the display, we are giving it block just to make it a block level element instead of an inline element, and then with a margin of 0 pixels or 2. Image I've added to explain centering of images. Okay, so it has a class name of align center, as you can see here. So I'll go to my CSS and add the rule I want to apply to this particular paragraph. So let me just paste it. I want to align it to the center, but let me just look at it before applying the rules. You can see the image. This image is now aligned to the left, right? It's floating to the left. That is before applying the rules. So now let me just save this one. Okay, let me save it and then now refresh my browser. Now you can see that it is actually aligning to the center, and then the text is floating directly under it. Okay, so this is exactly what I want to explain to you. So this is floating, and I'm putting the image on the left, this is on the right, and this is at the center.